Surprisingly, only a small percentage of elderly individuals retain the ability to perform certain activities that directly impact the length and quality of life after the age of 70. We are talking about only 5% of older adults who are capable of regularly performing 5 key tasks. These aren't incredible achievements or athletic records, but rather basic actions that define the line between independence and dependence, energy and decline. It's worth considering which group you'd prefer to belong to, the vast majority who have lost these abilities or the few who have maintained their functionality. It's important to understand that aging is not simply an inevitable process dependent on time. It's the result of daily decisions and lifestyle choices. There's a widespread belief that the body inevitably declines with age, but this underestimates the influence of personal responsibility and discipline on the trajectory of aging. Such a fatalistic attitude can be the beginning of a path toward deteriorating health and loss of independence. Next, we will discuss these 5 important aspects. They serve as indicators that, if maintained after the age of 70, there is a high probability of not only living longer, but also maintaining a decent quality of life. Rising from a horizontal surface without using your hands, a task that seems elementary at first glance, reveals the true state of a person's physical health. This movement, often underestimated, becomes inaccessible, signaling impending problems. The ability to get up from the floor using only the strength of the legs and core is a powerful indicator of longevity and maintaining functional independence. This simple action involves an entire group of muscles: quadriceps, glutes, hamstrings, abdominal muscles, and spinal stabilizers, coordinating their efforts. Successful completion of this movement indicates the smooth operation of all body systems, while failure may indicate an impending decline. It's important to understand that this is not just a test of strength, but also an assessment of control, integration, and the interaction of the nervous system with the musculoskeletal system. It's a test of balance, proprioception, spatial awareness, and coordination of movements. Successful execution requires mobility in the hip joints, flexibility in the ankle joints, and sufficient cardiorespiratory endurance to avoid shortness of breath. This is not just an exercise, but a valuable diagnostic tool. Research confirms this relationship. Scientific data shows that people who can sit and stand up from the floor independently demonstrate greater longevity and better health. One large-scale study found that people unable to perform this basic movement had a 5 to 6-fold increased risk of death within the next 6 years compared to those who successfully completed the task. This is not just a statistical correlation, but a clear cause and effect relationship. The loss of ability to perform basic movements is a warning sign of the beginning of decline. However, don't despair, because this ability can be restored. Neuroplasticity persists throughout life, muscles continue to respond to strength training, and the nervous system can be taught to work more efficiently. Practicing getting up from the floor is like training for a marathon or weightlifting. Slow, repetitive movements performed with concentration and intention will pay off. In the pursuit of longevity and improved quality of life, it's worth starting on the floor. It's necessary to train this movement, regaining lost skills. The floor is not an enemy, but a test that shows what the body is capable of and whether it's ready for further life. A continuous 30-minute brisk walk may seem like an ordinary activity that doesn't deserve special attention. However, this simple action holds an important indicator of health, vitality, and future prospects. The ability to move continuously at a moderate or fast pace for half an hour is not only a means of transportation, but also a way to maintain the dynamics of life in every sense. During brisk walking, the cardiovascular system is activated. The heart beats faster, the lungs work more intensely, and blood circulation improves. Rhythmic movements provide oxygen to every cell of the body, including the brain, which stimulates cognitive functions, improves mood, and reduces the risk of developing degenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's disease. Studies show that regular walks can be more effective than medication in maintaining brain health in older adults. Walking is not only about endurance, but also about maintaining proper posture, balance, rhythm, and muscle. Coordination. The ability to walk without difficulty for half an hour indicates the efficiency of the body's work. Each step requires a controlled movement. One leg lifts the body, weight is transferred, the other leg provides support. This requires strength, coordination, and neuromuscular activity, which weaken without regular practice. The consequences of this are not just a slower gait, but falls, social isolation, and hospitalization. The advantage of walking is its simplicity. It doesn't require a gym, a trainer, or special physical training. All that's needed is discipline and a willingness to find time for walks daily, regardless of weather or mood. These 30 minutes are an investment in the future. For people over 70, walking is one of the few safe and effective forms of physical activity with minimal risk. Paradoxically, walking seems easy until a person loses that ability. When walking becomes difficult, it indicates accumulated health problems. Therefore, it's important to act in advance, develop a habit of regular walks, train the body's capabilities, and create a safety margin for the legs, lungs, and the entire body. Walking is not just about maintaining physical activity, but also about preserving a full life. Lifting a weight of just 20 pounds may seem like an insignificant achievement, not worthy of special attention. However, it's worth considering how important this basic physical strength is in everyday life. 20 pounds is approximately the weight of a bag of groceries, a small child, a compact suitcase, or a stack of textbooks. It's not a feat of Hercules, but merely a necessary minimum. Nevertheless, for many people over 70, this ability disappears unnoticed, leading to dependence on outside help, frustration, and a feeling of vulnerability. Strength is not a pleasant addition to life in old age, but a vital necessity. Muscles are not just tissues, they are a reservoir of energy and vitality. With their loss, metabolism slows down, bones become more fragile, coordination deteriorates, and the risk of injury increases dramatically. Muscles provide protection, stabilize joints, cushion impacts, and literally keep a person on their feet. If someone is unable to lift 20 pounds today, what will happen when they need to maintain balance when falling, get up from the floor, or carry something important up the stairs? This inability not only creates inconvenience, it poses a real danger. It's important to understand that strength can be built at any age. Muscle fibers respond to resistance, and the body, even at 70 and older, retains the ability to adapt. The process, of course, is slower and recovery takes longer, but the potential for strength gain doesn't disappear, it's just waiting for activation. It's not about lifting weights for vanity, but about regaining the ability to be useful, contribute to life, serve oneself, and function independently. Strength recovery also entails psychological changes. A person begins to feel less fragile and anxious. Strength strengthens self-confidence, gives a sense of control over the situation, which is of great importance. When a person feels physically capable, it has a positive effect on their mental and emotional state. They stop seeing themselves as a wreck and realize that they are still in the game. Thus, lifting 20 pounds is not just a matter of physical strength, it's a symbol of opportunity, resilience, and freedom. And most importantly, it's a perfectly achievable goal. You can train to regain this ability. Don't accept weakness as inevitable. You need to fight for your strength and therefore fight for your life. Holding your balance on one leg for 10 seconds may seem like a task from a children's game until a person tries to perform it and realizes the complexity of the processes involved. This simple test demonstrates much more than it seems at first glance. It's not about athletic training at all, but about the coordinated work of all the body's systems. Muscles, joints, organs of vision and hearing, as well as the brain must function in perfect harmony. Otherwise, the body begins to lose stability, and these fluctuations serve as a quiet warning of impending problems. Balance is not just a physical skill, it's a neurological skill, reflecting how effectively the brain manages the body in space. The inner ear, cerebellum, and proprioceptive feedback system. All these elements work together in real time to keep the body upright. Deterioration in the ability to maintain balance indicates not only weakening of the leg muscles, but also possible early signs of nervous system disconnection or cognitive aging. That is why this test is a surprisingly accurate predictor of both physical health and neurological disorders. For older adults, the consequences of losing balance can be devastating. Falls are a leading cause of fatal injuries in this age group. They result in hip fractures, traumatic brain injuries, and often set off a chain of events, including hospitalization, surgical interventions, and long-term care. However, it all starts not with the fall itself, but with a slowly creeping instability that leads to a fatal mistake. But don't despair, because such a decline is not inevitable. Balance is a skill that can be developed. Balance training is not about acrobatic exercises on a tightrope, but about restoring the foundation of the motor system. Exercises that strengthen the feet, core, hips, as well as the muscles of the eyes and neck contribute to improved body control. The more practice, the better the nervous system learns new skills. Neural pathways and muscles can be retrained, and with enough persistence, what seemed shaky and unreliable becomes strong and stable. There is a deeper meaning to this. Balance is the ability to maintain control in difficult situations, the ability to remain calm when everything around is changing. With age, life throws more and more challenges, both physical and emotional. The ability to remain upright, to maintain inner harmony in the literal and figurative sense, becomes a symbol of resilience. Therefore, standing on one leg, a person is not just testing their stability, they are restoring coordination, independence, and self-confidence. 10 seconds may seem like an insignificant amount of time, but they can reveal the potential of an entire life. Finding a reason to live with which a person meets every morning can be the most powerful factor determining the quality of aging and life expectancy. While physical health is often the central focus in discussions about longevity, having a purpose represents the driving force that fills life with energy and meaning. It is a kind of internal compass, pointing to the existence of a significant task for which it is worth living each day. Without this internal compass, no physical achievements, be it developed muscles or an excellent sense of balance, can fully support the feeling of a fulfilling life. Having a clear purpose activates certain systems in the brain and body that help maintain stability and vitality. Studies show that older adults who report having a strong sense of purpose demonstrate lower rates of cardiovascular disease, depression, stroke, and even Alzheimer's disease. They experience improved sleep quality and faster recovery from illness. In addition, they are more likely to engage in health-promoting behaviors such as physical exercise and maintaining social connections. In other words, having a reason to live is not just pleasant, it leads to tangible and measurable positive changes in the body. But what does purpose look like after the age of 70? It is not always associated with grandiose ambitions or high productivity. Sometimes it can be about simply being with a loved one, sharing wisdom with younger generations, caring for a pet, volunteering, creating something new, or telling interesting stories. Purpose does not have to be large-scale and loud. It is important that it is personal and meaningful to the individual. This is the thread that pulls you out of bed even when your joints ache and the world seems full of difficulties. It is what gives structure to time and meaning to actions. Aging without purpose often leads to stagnation, social isolation, and a slow but dangerous decline. Days merge into a monotonous mass, motivation fades, and the mind, not receiving new challenges and not engaged in active activity, gradually closes in on itself. However, when a person feels connected to something bigger than themselves, something that goes beyond personal pleasure and comfort, they continue to move forward, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. This movement is life. The true power of purpose lies in the fact that it is not given easily. A person chooses it themselves, determines its content and meaning. Regardless of age, everyone can decide that their life still has value and meaning. This decision shapes the personality and ignites inner will. It gives context to efforts and transforms. Simple survival into a full life. When everything else starts to slow down, purpose becomes the inner fire that says, "Not yet, I still have work to do." After all, when you know why you wake up in the morning, the question of how to do it becomes much easier.